A week goes by before we hear from the witch, and for lack of anything better to do, I spend those 7 days tailing Ethan everywhere he goes. His days are a blend of academia and pack leadership that doesn't leave him much time for himself. At university, he's the stern, articulate professor I've always known, his lectures imbued with a passion I'd been too irritated to fully appreciate before. At home, Ethan's always solving a conflict or another, if not within his pack itself, with other wolves settled in the near vicinity. Wolves, I come to learn, start to display supernatural abilities during childhood and spend the rest of their lives resisting the urge to succumb to their more primal side. After witnessing a couple of kids transform in the middle of dinner, I realize Ethan plays a key role in keeping everyone's aggressive instincts in check. His commanding presence affects everyone around him, which I find disturbing at first, well aware such power could easily be abused. But Ethan would never. He sees his pack as family, and I come to appreciate their warm dynamic. I catch myself commenting on the children's progress, reacting to the teenagers' antics, and wishing I could input on the adults' discussions, whether serious or more laid back. But I can't. No one but Ethan can hear me, and he barely has time for himself, let alone for a ghost girl he hadn't even liked that much to begin with. I catch myself wishing he had, though time for me, that is. Our car rides to the university quickly become the highlight of my days, stolen moments I spend trying to make him laugh while he pretends it doesn't work. He does start taking increasingly longer routes to stretch our time together, and I'd love to take that as a sign that he sees me not just as another supernatural obligation but as someone who might genuinely matter to him. But the more time passes, the more absurd that seems. He's not interested in me that way. He's just concerned for me, like he is for everyone else. It's practically in his nature. In the evenings, I catch myself wanting to follow him to his bedroom, but he never explicitly asks me to, and I don't dare phrasing anything either. What's the point? What future is there for us? It's not like he'd want one with me, he who lives for his obligations. He belongs with someone who can share the weight of his responsibilities and lessen the burden he bears of watching over everyone else. I could never be that person. I've never looked after anyone but myself in my entire life. I wouldn't even know where to begin. Amid all this confusion, I do receive some good news. My doctors contact Ethan and explain they'll be operating on me, which they believe should speed up my recovery. The surgery goes well, and I become hopeful that we might not even need to meet with the witch, as I might wake up before then. But by the day of the meeting, it still hasn't happened, which is why we are now back in Grimwood, in front of the bookstore we'd found Lily at a week ago. I'd feel better if you waited outside, Ethan grumbles as he opens the door to the shop. You know I'd just end up popping next to you even if I tried staying behind. Ethan is saying something under his breath about how he suspects I do that on purpose when a strange-looking man interrupts us. He's in his 50s, with a long, sickly face, though it's his eyes, vacant, expressionless voids, which attract my attention. She's waiting for you in the back, he says in a toneless voice. We walk towards the end of the dark, dusty shop, so quiet all we hear are Ethan's footsteps echoing through the small space, and step behind a blue curtain, which must have seen better days. We stop in our tracks as we discover what's hidden behind it. We're outside, in a wide, flowery field bathed in the warm, fiery glow of sunset, despite the time being closer to midday mere minutes ago. The sight is breathtaking, but with an undercurrent of wrongness that I can't quite pinpoint. It's not just that it feels like we've traveled far away from the bookstore in merely a step. There's something wrong with this deceptively serene scenery, something lurking. We hear the witch laugh before we see her. In the blink of an eye, Ethan finds himself seated at a table set for tea, and in front of him is a beautiful woman with strawberry blonde hair who'd look very young if it wasn't for the ageless depth of her bright blue eyes. She crosses her hands under her chin, giving him a blank stare. You don't look like a lily, she says, lips stretched into a smile. I have something for you. Ethan hands over a small box to the witch. She opens it unhurriedly, taking a careful look inside. What would you like in exchange? Information. The witch's eyes snap to where I'm standing by Ethan's chair. About the spirit you have with you, I take it. My heartbeat picks up, but it's her next words that shock me into silence. Though it appears your spirit's time is almost up, she tells Ethan with a serene smile. I sense a sudden tension coil within him, even though he doesn't let it show openly. What do you mean? The witch drops a cube of sugar inside her cup, twirling it around with a spoon. It looks like your spirit has been separated from its body for too long, she comments with a shrug. It's withering away, and soon it will be gone forever. Ethan's asking the witch more questions, but there's ringing in my ears, preventing me from understanding what they're saying. Could this be true? The witch interposes, sounding surprised. I realize she's now looking straight at me. You'll drain yourself out even quicker, manifesting like this. What do you mean by manifesting? Ethan asks wearily. The witch sends him a bored look. Your friend is here in spirit form, her soul lingering away from her body. A soul isn't meant to have a corporeal form, so when she manifests one, she's essentially burning away her soul faster, like a burning candle. Ethan pales, letting go of my hand. My fingers feel freezing outside of his. How does it work, exactly? From what she tells me, it's not something she can control. The witch seems amused. It's all a matter of motivation, she replies evasively. Should she want it hard enough, she'll manage to reach the physical plane, though, like I said, I'd restrain myself from now on if I were her. She won't last for very long at this rate. Hearing the word motivation, I think back to all the times I'd managed to manifest, as the witch calls it. The first time was when I'd touched Ethan's hand, the second when he'd hugged me at the hospital, the third when I thought he would kiss me. So, this was essentially me wanting to touch him. I glance his way as he asks for more details to the witch, brows furrowed in a stern expression I would have mocked a week ago but which only seems endearing to me now. How do we get her soul back into her body? Well, we'd have to figure out how it got away in the first place, I suppose. Sophie was in an accident. The witch doesn't reply immediately. Instead, she watches Ethan pensively, eyes drifting towards me once in a while. When someone's stuck between life and death, their soul tends to linger around their bodies, but hers hasn't. Instead, it attached itself to you. To me. Ethan asks in a strangled voice. Well, yes. She follows you everywhere, doesn't she? You're a wolf. You should know a thing or two about why souls connect. I frown in confusion. What does she mean by that? Does Ethan know something I don't? I watch his face decompose from shock into a grim expression I don't like one bit. He's troubled by something, except I have no idea what. I see. He looks so defeated. Does it mean I'm done for? I want to ask, but the witch gets up from her chair, gesturing for us to go. Don't pout, handsome. It hasn't fully set yet. Make sure it doesn't, and she should reunite with her body once it is healed, if it heals soon, that is. Now, I think I've said more than enough in exchange for this little trinket. She puts the object Ethan has brought her in the pocket of her long skirt, gives us a little wave, and then snaps her fingers. The next thing I know, we're sitting inside Ethan's car outside the bookshop, the midday light bright behind the windowpane. I'm too stunned to speak. I have so many questions and feelings, I don't know how to phrase anything coherent. I turn to Ethan, expecting him to fill in the blanks or at the very least say something vaguely encouraging about my predicament, but he keeps his eyes set ahead, starts the engine, and drives us home without uttering a word. Chapter 12. By evening, my thoughts and feelings are a little more ordered, enough that I wish to discuss what happened earlier with Ethan. Having had the time to reconsider what the witch has told us, I've concluded that things aren't as bad as I'd initially thought. I mean, she did say my soul would go back to my body once it was healed, and currently, my body's recuperating from a surgery that supposedly went well. So there's good reason to hope that I'll wake up soon. Who knows, maybe by tomorrow or a couple of days, I'll be back to my old self again, well, a bit more bruised and beaten than I'd like, but nothing time won't heal. So I don't understand why Ethan is taking this news so hard. He clenched his jaw during the entire car ride home, not uttering a single word to me. At the time, I hadn't thought much of it, but now, a few hours later, it bothers me that we haven't had a chance to speak. I follow him around the house, confused by the tension radiating from him in waves, and try to get his attention multiple times, but Ethan's suddenly busier than I've ever seen him, constantly by someone's side, gaze stubbornly fixed on anything but me. It's making it impossible for us to interact, and after patiently waiting for him for an hour, which turns into 3, it becomes apparent that this lack of opportunity isn't just bad luck. I'm pretty sure he's avoiding me. I watch from the sidelines as he goes about his life like I'm not even there, overcome with the same feeling of abandonment I'd experienced growing up with a mother who barely even looked at me. It hurt then, and it hurts now. I'd probably cry if I wasn't so angry for opening myself up for disappointment once again. Screw Ethan for making me trust him, only to reject me down the line for no reason. I give up staying by his side and decide to hide away in different corners of the house, near enough that I won't accidentally teleport right next to him, but not in his line of sight. I feel slightly better not having to look at his impossibly beautiful face as he gives me the cold shoulder, though not very much. It's past dinner time, and people are beginning to retire for the night. Even my anger is fading away, leaving only confusion in its wake. I don't understand why Ethan would suddenly avoid me when he's done nothing but help me until now. Memories of his kind smiles and past soothing words traitorously assail me, and I'm left wondering if I've been overreacting. I begin to feel a familiar tug, and I expect to end up by Ethan's side in a second, but pride stops me from letting it happen. Well, pride and a good dose of fear. If I stay away, I can keep telling myself his aloof behavior was all in my head. I don't want to subject myself to another rejection, not tonight. Though I can't help but wonder what he's doing now. Grading papers? Surely he isn't sleeping yet, is he? I close my eyes. Emotions which aren't my own arise within me, a painful mix of tension and sorrow. I gasp in surprise. I can't believe how distraught Ethan feels. A strong pull overcomes me, like he's calling for me without using words, but I resist it. He's hurt my feelings, so there's no way I'm going to him. I manage to hold that thought for at least an hour more before I erupt from my hiding spot like the weak-willed fool I am. Screw my pride. I'm going to find Ethan because he's miserable, and it may be small, but I do have a heart. I instinctively know where to find him, his weighted emotion beckoning me despite the slight haze that has begun to envelop them, like cotton. Is he about to fall asleep? I hurry to the living room, where I find him in mid-conversation with Isabel, because of course she'd be there, like the stalker she is. In front of her, Ethan is sprawled in an old leather chair, a glass of something alcoholic in hand, which I can tell isn't his first. I'd be amused if it wasn't for Isabel's hand resting on his knee. She's touching him so casually, whereas I can't. They're whispering to each other in a manner that's clearly meant to be private, so naturally, I hide in a corner to listen in, betting on Ethan being too intoxicated to notice. Are you sure? Isabel says, sounding concerned. Nope, I'm sure, Ethan sighs before slamming back the rest of his drink. He aims to pour himself another, but Isabel confiscates his glass with a worried expression. Well, she begins cautiously, isn't that good news? Good. Ethan laughs, though there's nothing joyful about it. How so? Isabel hesitates before speaking, watching him close his eyes with a tired sigh. Surely finding one's soulmate is something to be happy about, she says after a while. I frown in confusion. What is she talking about? Ethan seems to get it, though, because he immediately tenses, snapping an eye open. Why would I be happy about having Sophie as a soulmate? It's a disaster. I can't believe what I'm hearing. Could this be true? Am I Ethan's soulmate? I think back on what the witch had told us earlier, and suddenly her words begin to make sense. I can't believe I hadn't realized until now. She essentially said our souls were attached and that Ethan, a werewolf who knows all about soulmates, should have recognized the situation for what it was. Ever since waking up, I've been glued to his side. I can more or less read his emotions. He's the only one who can see me. Oh my God. Tears begin to stream down my face. Is this why he's been avoiding me? Because I'm his soulmate and he doesn't want me? So this Sophie, she's been around this whole time? Isabel asks, curious. Is she here now? No, she's upset with me. Ethan rubs a tired hand over his face. Probably for the best. A sense of dread overcomes me at his words. My entire being feels like it's been drenched in ice. A shiver runs down my spine. I'm so cold. I don't want to stay here anymore. I flee from my hiding spot, too distraught to care if I get seen, although I don't think Ethan notices through the haze of alcohol. And even if he did, it's not like he'd care. He doesn't want me around. No one ever does. The pain of his words cuts deeper than I expected, like a knife twisting in my chest. I retreat to the far corner of the mansion, near a dusty attic filled with old furniture and forgotten trinkets, hoping the distance will dull the ache. But it doesn't. If anything, the pull towards Ethan grows stronger, like a tether yanking at my soul, demanding I return to him. I curl up against a wooden chest, hugging my knees, and try to focus on anything but the hollow feeling inside me. Why does it hurt so much? I've always been fine on my own. I've never needed anyone, not my absent father, not my distant mother, and certainly not some arrogant professor who thinks I'm a disaster. But the truth is, I'm not fine. Not anymore. Somewhere along the way, Ethan's presence became a lifeline, his gruff demeanor and rare smiles a strange kind of comfort. And now, knowing he's my soulmate, knowing he rejects that bond, feels like losing something I didn't even realize I'd claimed. I close my eyes, willing myself to stay put, to not give in to the urge to run to him. But the attic grows colder, the shadows darker, and I can't shake the feeling that I'm fading, just like the witch warned. My soul is burning out, and Ethan's the only one who can anchor me. But if he doesn't want me, what's the point? The next day, I remain stubbornly hidden in a corner of Lily's room, praying for the bond not to drag me by Ethan's side while he drives to university. The last thing I want is to be stuck alone with him in a confined space so that he can butcher what's left of my poor heart with the sheer force of his indifference. Despite the growing pull I feel, the almost inescapable urge to teleport over to him, I manage to hold it off long enough for it to happen once he's entering his morning lecture. I breathe a sigh of relief, heading to the back of his class to linger behind a group of students as they settle in their seats, hoping they'll hide me from view should Ethan choose to look this way. Damn, what's wrong with Dr. Wolfe? He looks rough, one of them asks, starting his computer. He looks hungover. More like miserable. You'd think someone died, a girl adds. Maybe he just got dumped. Don't be stupid. No one this attractive gets dumped. This is your chance, Hannah. Go heal his broken heart. The girl, Hannah, blushes stupidly, making me roll my eyes. I'd love to tell her that if she's into emotionally unavailable men bound to break her heart, then sure, Ethan's a great pick. Except I can't, because not only can she not hear me, but most importantly, that wouldn't even be true. Ethan is perfect. I'm the one who's lacking, the worst soulmate in the world, apparently, completely unlovable. My mood slightly improves as Lily arrives inside the room, taking a seat a few rows behind me, though not without sending Ethan a curious look, which quickly turns into one of concern. I don't know what she's concerned about. He'll be just fine once I wake up and get out of his life forever. Ethan begins his lecture, though it completely lacks the enthusiasm he usually displays. I sneak a glance at him and have to admit he does look pretty distraught, tired, and with something heavy hanging in the air around him, probably the horror of having me for a soulmate. I'm viciously hoping his hangover gives him a world of pain when I notice Lily tensing in her seat. She's discreetly looking at her phone, and I know that face. This is the face she makes when Caleb's being difficult with her. I've seen it many times before. Lily texts him something back, but not even a minute later, she's back to staring worriedly at her phone, biting her lip. And then she practically jumps out of her seat and hurries towards the exit, where none other than Caleb is waiting for her, a furious expression on his face. What is he doing here? He says something I can't hear and then grabs her by the arm, pulling her after him with a ferocity I don't like. Without thinking, I get up to run after them, apprehension twisting my stomach. I don't trust Caleb with her, not for a second. However, I stop dead in my tracks when I notice the entire room's gone silent. What's with the awkward break? Oh no. With a wince, I slowly turn to the front of the lecture hall, where, sure enough, Ethan's watching me with a dumbfounded expression. I don't know what to make of it. Our eyes meet, and it feels like all the air is being pushed out of my lungs, even though I don't even need to breathe. Why is he looking at me like that? Well, don't stop on my account, I sneer defensively before resuming my exit, head held high. I ignore how the obvious wince he displays hurts my soul and run out into the hall, searching for Lily's blonde head. Luckily, I see her and Caleb take a turn and disappear inside a bathroom. I hurry in after them. I told you not to go in today. Caleb is sneering at Lily as I get inside the room, unnoticed. Why is it so hard for you to understand? Lily's trying to wiggle free of his hold. And I told you I need space, she replies cautiously. Please let go, Caleb, you're hurting. Space? What for? You're my mate, Lily. The only thing you should need is me. I scoff in anger. This guy is insufferable, treating Lily like she's his property. Her being his mate is no excuse. You heard Sophie, Lily snaps, removing her arm. This isn't something I can just ignore her again. Ever since meeting her, you've been treating me like crap. She's a bad influence on you. If you ask me, it's a good thing that car managed to hit. Lily interrupts his sentence with a loud slap against his cheek, eyes wide after she's realized what she's done. She opens her mouth in shock, though Caleb doesn't allow her to speak. He slaps her right back with all his strength, making Lily fall onto the ground in a cry of pain. I scream as he raises his arm again, like he's about to hit her harder. Without a thought, I jump onto his back, holding back his arm with all my strength as I bite violently into his ear. Leave Lily alone, I scream as a confused Caleb tries to wiggle out of my grasp. I hit the ground with a grunt, catching Lily's horrified expression as I do so. Sophie, she whispers, eyes wide in shock. Lily can see me. I reach for her hand and aim to reply when I feel a strong hand encircling my throat, and suddenly I'm lifted off the ground, pulled towards Caleb's red, distorted face. His features are twisted in anger, reminding me of the night he'd attacked us at the club. You, he seethes, murder in his eyes. He squeezes my neck with intent, obviously trying to choke me, and I might not need to breathe, but it hurts like hell. Not only that, I start to recall how the witch had warned me against manifesting a day ago, claiming doing so would drain me. I'm not sure this is what she meant, but I feel like all strength is abandoning me. I can hear Lily screaming from far away and dazedly watch Caleb's mouth curl in fury. He's speaking to me, but I can't tell what he's saying. Suddenly, the bathroom door opens to reveal Ethan's furious expression. Our eyes briefly meet, his widening in fear, or at least that's what it looks like, though it's hard to tell because black spots are forming in my field of vision. Caleb abruptly lets go of me, and I fall like a limp doll. I vaguely hear him say something to Ethan as the latter grabs him by the collar, throwing him across the room against a sink. The sight awakens me a little because it's so satisfying watching Caleb grab onto his bleeding nose. I'm sorry, he sings like a berated little boy, bowing to Ethan, who doesn't reply, instead kneeling by my side to hold my face in his hands. Sophie, stop manifesting, he tells me, like I have any control over the situation. He looks frantic as he pulls me towards him, his beautiful features twisted in fear, a contrast with the calm, soothing tone he's addressing me with. I briefly wonder what he's so afraid of before being slightly dazzled by how close he's holding me. His eyes are such a pretty color, even now as they turn into gold. His hands feel scorching hot against my skin. That's when I realize how cold I am. I can barely move my fingers. Also, I'm very angry with Ethan. I tell him so. Go away, I gasp, though I'm grasping at his jacket like a lifeline. I don't need you. He replies something. At least I think he does. His voice wavers, but so does my consciousness. I can't see anything anymore. All I feel is the cold and a heavy weight on my chest, the sudden conviction that this is surely what dying feels like. I think Ethan's begging me to stay conscious, but I ignore it, closing my eyes. Death doesn't sound too bad right about now, as at least I probably won't feel any more pain. I don't understand what's happening straight away when I regain consciousness. I'm tired and confused, but I feel pleasantly warm now. The cold I felt before is a distant memory. I become increasingly aware of long fingers running pleasantly through my hair and a strong chest under my cheek. I'm being held in someone's arms, I realize, and it feels wonderful. I sigh happily, and then my chin is delicately lifted so that my eyes meet a soft grey gaze. You're awake, Ethan says, sighing in relief, though his mouth is still twisted in worry. I can't look away as he grazes my cheek with his thumb, making me shiver. Are you still cold? I slowly shake my head, feeling myself blush. I think I'm enjoying being held too much. It'll be too painful when it eventually stops. Ethan places a lock of hair behind my ear, looking so earnestly concerned it nearly breaks my heart. Are you sure? Why is he looking at me like I'm something precious when I know it isn't true? Where are we? I reply, looking around. We're inside a bedroom that vaguely resembles his, although there are some notable differences, such as the chimney hosting a burning fire right by the big chair we're sitting on. And how come we're still touching? I ask, staring as Ethan captures my fingers in his own. He pulls me tight against him, burying his nose into my hair. I'm not sure where we are, he replies, but I think we can touch because this entire place isn't real. He says this like it is the least of his concerns, and I feel so boneless wrapped in his arms that I almost accept the statement for what it is almost, but not quite. What do you mean it isn't real? I ask, searching his expression. Are we in a dream? It would make sense for Ethan to only hold me in my dreams, though. I wiggle around in his lap to get a better look at him, straddling his waist with my bare thighs. It occurs to me, perhaps a little late, that I'm only wearing a shirt. I gulp, feeling the warmth of his skin against my leg. Oh, I fumble, blushing furiously. Sorry. What for? Ethan's gaze darkens, his fingers slowly traveling up my thighs. I can't help myself. I moan. I'd be embarrassed if not for the look Ethan gives me in response. Sophie, his hands clench my hips. I bite my lip, trying to hold back the pathetic squeal begging to escape. Are we in a dream? I ask. He replies, staring distractedly at my lips. I catch his chin between my fingers. What's happening? I ask, before I remember that if this is all a dream, it's probably going to end soon, and I better make the most of it while I still can. My lips crash against his, a kiss Ethan immediately deepens, pulling me flush against him as I run my hands along his arms, enjoying the strong muscles I feel beneath my palms. I feel wild and just a little bit desperate as he lifts me without interrupting our kiss, walking us over to the bed with my legs still wrapped around his hips. More overwhelming than my growing desire is the sudden influx of Ethan's yearning thoughts filling my mind like they're my own. I can feel how much he wants me, how hard he's holding back for fear of hurting me, despite being practically delirious with need now that he's finally holding me after craving it for so long, practically since he's met me. I'm overwhelmed by this new information and by Ethan's lips on my neck, his teeth grazing the skin. A surge of possessiveness, his own, threatens to consume me as I can practically hear Ethan's voice inside my head, calling me his over and over again with vivid urgency. Now I know for a fact this isn't real. The real Ethan would never feel this way about me, would never touch me and think and feel about me with a passion that too much resembles love. Tears sting my eyes, and I try to hold back a sob, but I guess the sharing of emotions goes both ways because Ethan immediately moves away, like he's been burnt. Did I hurt you? He asks, eyes full of sorrow. He aims to move even further away, but I don't let him, throwing my arms around him as I bury my face into his neck, letting my tears fall. Ethan's confusion and fear only add to my emotional outburst. What's wrong? He asks softly, caressing my hair. Please tell me, what can I do? He sounds so concerned. All I can do is unburden myself, settling for this illusory comfort like a lifeline. I wish it was real, I confess, once my sobs have quieted. Ethan lets out a frustrated little laugh. Trust me, so do I. I shake my head. No, you don't. Not really. Ethan pulls away from me to give me a searching look. What? He asks carefully, drying my cheeks with his thumbs with a tenderness I'd no idea was possible. I love him, I realize, as I watch him give me a soft, encouraging smile. I'm so in love with him, I've conjured up a whole fantasy of him, which hurts all the more knowing I could never have this. I heard you the other night, I tell him, moving away. Ethan looks at me with the same confusion he feels. It annoys me enough to continue. You told Isabel I was your soulmate, I remind him with a pout. Ethan frowns, reaching for my hand. You are, he says carefully. Does it bother you? I can't believe him. I snatch my hand away. No, it bothers you, I say with a reproachful look. You said it was a disaster. The memory of it brings new tears to my eyes as recollection slowly dawns on Ethan's face. Oh, he says, expression crumbling. That's not what Sophie, I'm sorry. He pulls me into a crushing hug. If I'd known you were there, I should have realized, he sighs, pulling away to look at me before speaking again. Please don't cry, sweetheart. It's killing me. Why? I scoff, disbelieving. You obviously don't want me for a soulmate. Sophie, it's not that I don't want you, Ethan laughs. Why wouldn't I want you? You're perfect. He brings my hands to his lips with a near worshipful expression that leaves me speechless. My perfect, beautiful mate. I roll my eyes at him. That's not what you sounded like when you were drunk. Ethan has the decency to look a little embarrassed. Sophie, what I said, it wasn't for lack of love. Love? I interrupt, feeling my heart twitch inside my chest. Ethan gives me a soft, tender smile. I don't know what to think anymore. I'm so confused. He seems sincere, but he was also genuinely upset the other night. What am I meant to think? I didn't mean it was a disaster because of you, he continues, his voice low and earnest. It's because I'm a wolf, Sophie. You're human. If we let this bond set, it could put you in danger. You saw what Caleb did to Lily. I can't let that happen to you. His words hit me like a punch. He's not rejecting me because he doesn't want me, he's trying to protect me. The realization makes my heart ache in a different way, a mix of relief and frustration. But that's not your choice to make, I argue, my voice trembling. I get to decide what risks I'm willing to take, Ethan. He shakes his head, his jaw tightening. You don't understand. The pack, the life we live, it's not safe for you. I'd rather lose you than see you hurt. Lose me? I snap, anger flaring. You're already losing me. The witch said my soul's fading, Ethan. If we don't figure this out, I'll be gone for good. Is that what you want? His face pales, and for the first time, I see genuine fear in his eyes. No, he whispers, his voice breaking. No, that's not what I want. Then stop pushing me away, I plead, grabbing his hand. We're in this together, whether you like it or not. He looks at me, his grey eyes searching mine, and I can feel the turmoil in him, his desire to protect me battling with the pull of our bond. Before he can respond, a bright light flashes before my eyes, and I feel myself being yanked away, the dreamlike bedroom dissolving into darkness. I wake up on the bathroom floor, back on the university campus, with Ethan's arms still around me. His face is pale, but relief washes over his features as our eyes meet. She's waking up, he tells Lily, who's kneeling beside him, her face etched with worry. Ask her how she feels, Lily presses, her voice tight with concern. Is she still cold? Is she going to disappear? Ethan sends me an amused glance, despite the tension. You heard that? He asks me. I sit up, my head spinning but my energy renewed by the fact that Lily can see me now. Lily knows I'm here. I exclaim, excitement bubbling up despite the ache in my chest. Ethan, Lily says, shaking his arm. What's going on? What did Sophie say? I can't help but grin. Oh my God, tell her I've got so much to tell her, I order Ethan. She's not going to believe what I've been through. She says she's been having a splendid time in my company, Ethan tells Lily with a slight smirk, his eyes flickering with that familiar teasing glint. I roll my eyes. I didn't say that. She didn't say that, Lily echoes, her lips twitching into a small smile despite the bruise under her left eye. The sight of it sobers me instantly, reminding me of why we're here. Where's Caleb? I ask, scanning the room for any sign of him. There's none, just the faint smell of blood from where Ethan threw him against the sink. I've kicked him out of the pack, Ethan explains, his voice hard as he gives Lily a pointed look. Worry tightens my gut. But what about Lily? You said she'd go with him since they're mates. Ethan places a hand on Lily's arm, his expression softening. I think I know what she just asked, Lily says suddenly, her voice grim but resolute. She squares her shoulders and announces, I did it, Sophie. I rejected Caleb as my mate. Our bond is broken. I stare at her, stunned. The weight of her words hits me like a tidal wave. I know how much that bond meant to her, how it tore her apart to stay with someone who hurt her, and yet she found the strength to let it go. Lily, I whisper, wishing I could hug her. I'm so proud of you. She doesn't hear me, of course, But Ethan does. He relays my words, his voice gentle. Sophie says she's proud of you. Lily's eyes well up with tears, but she manages a shaky nod. Thanks, she murmurs, looking at Ethan as if she knows I'm there, even if she can't see me anymore. The moment is interrupted by the sound of footsteps approaching. Ethan tenses, his eyes flashing gold for a brief second before he helps me to my feet. We need to get you out of here, he says, his tone urgent. Caleb might come back, and I don't trust him not to try something. I nod, my heart racing. As we leave the bathroom, I glance back at Lily, who's following close behind, her expression a mix of determination and fragility. I vow to myself that I'll find a way to help her, just as she's been there for me. And as for Ethan, well, we've got a lot to figure out, but for the first time, I feel like we might actually have a chance. Thank you for exploring Hunt for a Wolf's Heart with Clara's Story Garden. Subscribe to our channel for the next chapters and more stories of love and mystery.